for being here and for being back. If you just joined us, it's still Enterprise Friday, reaching you from Enterprise Television. Let's get to our conversation for today. Former military head of state Ibrahim Babangida on Thursday expressed regret over the annulment of the June 12, 1993 presidential election, acknowledging that the candidate of the Social Democratic Party, MKO Abiola, won the poll. In the concluding section of the 12th chapter of his autobiography launched Thursday in Abuja, titled A Journey in a Service, the former leader described the annulment of the election as an accident of history. His remarks, however, attracted knocks and reactions from various individuals and pro-democracy groups, including the Afenifere coalition of northern groups of former Ogun State Governor Segun Oshoba, Mike Ozokome, SAN, and other prominent Nigerians. However, the Abiola's family was silent on IBB's admission. Calls to Abiola's children, including Hafsat and others, did not elicit any response. The June 12, 1993 election won by the businessman and politician Abiola was considered Nigeria's freest and fairest. However, Babangida annulled the results, citing concerns over national security. The annulment sparked nationwide protests and political unrest, forcing Babangida to resign and leading to a prolonged struggle for democracy before the return to civilian rule in 1999. Let's have a conversation today. I still have with me Innocent Aduluba. Thank you so very much, Mr. Aduluba, for being here.
My pleasure.
Thank you. So let's get into this very heated story. This is, for me, the biggest story of the first quarter of 2025. Confessions flying all over the place. What do you think about this, Innocent?
Well, if you look at, they will tell you the next day, the tabloids are awash. We are told here, one of these Premium Times says IBB raises 17.5 billion naira for presenting that book. And former presidential candidate, Labour Party, Peter Obi, has praised IBB for speaking the truth and asked that other players in same election do same. And then people should also tell the truth about other elections,
exactly.
Not just the one, possibly alluding to the one he participated in. You know, Premium Times, Nigerian business elites have announced about 17.5 billion naira in donation to the IBB Presidential Library project when he did that his book. So 1993 to now is 32 years.
Yeah.
32 years after, IBB still grosses this kind of amount. But beyond the sentiments, the crux of the matter is there was an election, and up until yesterday, a key figure in it, President Babangida, admitted that it was, at the time, Nigeria's freest and fairest election, admitted that MKO won, admitted that he annulled the election, given his explanation and circumstances. So I would first and foremost see that as a litmus test to Nigeria's judiciary and law enforcement agency. Because in law, where a confession is made, it surpasses any other evidence for either arrest or conviction, or an invitation to give a statement to, you know. So, but from that time till now, I see people applauding, clapping. I've not heard any voice speaking in this regard. At least now that the matters are, in quote, getting clearer, we should have a semblance of judicial sanity, enforcement processes. It shouldn't approximate maybe an arrest or something. You know, there will be, that's like a file. It's a case file. Was it case closed at the time? Then it also can be reopened. It can be reopened. Imagine at the time, it was alleged that the reason for the incarceration of Chief Moshid Kashimawo Abiola was that he paraded himself. He self-proclaimed himself. You know, but I don't think those were those ones came to the fore yesterday. So these are where clarities are needed. The late Professor Humphrey Nwosu, who was the chairman of NEC, as it was called at the time, the National Electoral Commission, has said this much, even in his book, before his passing. So who are the other parties? What, like I would put it, it's a litmus test on our judicial processes and law enforcement processes.
Yes, a litmus test on judiciary, the legal system in Nigeria. If they would take it up from here is another case entirely. But let's take a look at you know, what it seemed like now. Especially you made the statement from Peter Obi's submission on that particular matter. Of course, he was very diplomatic. You know, I had to read through everything he wrote. What you talked about came at the very end, you know, where he said that people should only start confessing, you know, on elections of the past. And we all know what he is talking about, the February 23, 2023 general election. But President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, who was declared the winner, you know, on the launch of the book, you know, stated how that he met IBB one-on-one and asked him to allow the people, you know, take the mandate, and Babangida refused. How is it now that the same person who was a casualty back in the day is now trying to be righteous, even when he knows, allegedly, that he is a beneficiary of the same system that was opposed to his mentor or his boss, Abiola?
Some of the sagacity of the political acumen, ingenuity, strategy, for which President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is renowned for, took its offshoot from this MKO electoral saga.
Explain, please. How, when you say it took its offshoot from?
Yes.
How do you mean?
President Tinubu was in quote, he cut his political teeth as a follower of the party, Social Democratic Party. I think it could be said that 32 years ago, the president was one of the youths involved in pushing for some of these things. I think this man too, Showore, was like a Nance president or something at the time.
Yeah.
So I'm saying these were the path President Bola Tinubu had traveled in becoming that political chieftain he is today. And what do I mean? He was on the victim side.
Yeah.
The crusade for the restoration of the MKO mandate morphed into Nadeco,
yeah,
which took, including our darling patriot who died lately, Adebanjo, were good party stalwarts. Lots of them from Owo, Adefarasi, yeah. A lot of them,
Olufalaye,
you know, Bola Ige, and all of the fallen heroes. So I'm saying these were the parts, the chart that it was the rocks, the thorns President Tinubu maneuvered, that toughened, that gave him a political compass to where he is today. But you will know that time heals all wounds. So the man, IBB, and his successor, military successor, Abacha, were, it was their fear that caused a lot of political exile at the time. President Tinubu, one of those who fled. The returnee time came in 1999, during the 98-99 post-Abacha, General Abdul Salam Abubakar, Obasanjo, and the rest of them. So, and under IBB was the first time President Bola Tinubu was a senator.
Yeah.
In 1992, that's at the time Sir Michael Otedola was governor of Lagos State. You know, so Maybe, like at the time heals all wound, whatever scars President Tinubu would have incurred at the time, fleeing Nigeria, have all healed. And to make matters juicy, he is a sitting president. So maybe he doesn't see the need to in quotes, loathe General Ibrahim Babangida anymore. So they are now associates.
Yes, but what
you could see he had a prominent role yesterday
Definitely.
at the time.
Yes, as the sitting president. But where I'm actually driving to, my drift actually, is that we all know what happened in the last election, which of course
they won from which
the 2023
President
election
Tinubu emerged.
Yes, exactly.
When you say we all know, what do we all know?
We all participated in the election. We all know how we all knew how the beavers did work. The IREF didn't work. We all knew the electoral manipulations and the permutations that happened.
Political miracles.
Exactly. You know how that the Labour Party, of course, clinched a prominent role or certified what it took for the candidate to have won Abuja, won some other states and all that. He was the only person actually that met all of those laid down rules, and of course that was supposed to be there. But of course it didn't happen that way. Lots of things happened, like you said, the political miracle that happened that saw to President Bola Ahmed Tinubu ascending the throne. But the question is, would we see a repeat in the nearest future when people would come and start writing books to atone for their sins for what happened in 2023?
I think the book writing is not an atonement.
Really?
Is a literary medium of confessing. To atone is to bear, will I say, consequences, or is to bear certain, what the Catholic would tell you, penance. If you want to atone, there are things you will do. I don't know, you bear consequences, sanctions, punishments for something. That a prisoner is in prison because that is an atonement.
So the ability
so this
to
is not an atonement.
Himself, yes, the ability
this is just a confession.
Yes, the ability to liberate that out of him, isn't that enough atonement?
No, atonement. This is a confession in a prose form. Okay. That's a novel. That's a prose. You know. So he just joined the College of Authors, talking about IBB, and in his book this confession was made, and he was magnanimous to say that to back his confession, the results of the election are in the, would I call them, appendix of the appendix to the book. He has not atoned. Atoned will be letting justice run its course. That's when atonement comes in. If I stole a vehicle and I am caught and sent to jail, and after jail I go home, I've served time.
Okay.
But if the vehicle was not taken from me, I have served time, all right.
Yeah.
I have not atoned for that. Okay. The atonement will be to retrace my step, return the vehicle, acknowledge, admit my offense, and sort of apologize to the owner. He may not be happy, but that I brought the vehicle back, apologize, and his loss has been recovered. There lies atonement. MKO, God rest his soul, Alhaja Kudirat, God rest her soul, can never be appeased. But there are people, including, do you know how old? Like Barrister Ivan Sofeli, one of our, let me use the word, CEO here, also said his friend, in the course of that period, lost his sight. How do you atone for that? So that man, if he's still alive, is 32 years blind. Look, it's the depth is dark. It's dark. It's like the night is dark and lots of people are far from home. It's sorrowful, it's sad, and the whole nation was plunged in the wrong direction. A whole nation. At the expense of the political interest of a few. that was a powerful oligarchy at work.
But how do we stop this from happening in the future? In elections are coming on now and then in Nigeria.
Well, I think my suggestions may be academic, because in Nigeria we are in the land of political miracles and mysteries. What works here and there don't work here, even if we suggest them. But one of my suggestions would be that the INEC head should run through an election.
Should do what?
Should pass through should emerge from elections.
Oh, okay. Okay.
The Attorney General should emerge from an election. The Chief Judge or Chief Justice should emerge from an election. Again, there are muscles, financial muscles, to swing. I mean, you can see what is happening in Osun State. There is the financial muscles of those who control the security apparatus to carry out their political miracles, and we take it as it is. Two, we should grow to the stage of state police. Because if Governor Adeleke has his police, he doesn't need the IGP to accent what the police commissioner will request. An election will hold.
Well, that comes with its own trouble.
It will.
Because with that, you see leaders who would use that against the opposition.
These are, I'm sorry, my host.
It's a big problem.
These are hypotheses yet to happen. As soon as you mention state police, the hypothesis is the sitting governor will manipulate. Let us have it, and let's have the evidence of the manipulation. Why are we afraid of the shadow? Anywhere you mention state police, we are told are we prophets accurately prophesying? Are we predictors accurately predicting? The state police, is it not existing worldwide? Then let's strengthen our legal systems. If a governor manipulates his state police to do this, so thing happens. There are clauses here and there. We are units in a federation. So the federal constitution will have it that if Lagos governor, if Plateau governor, if Zamfara, if whatever governor carries out this hypothesis, so it will be their fate. It will be clear upon setting up a state police, there will be rules on ground. You don't just set up the state police and give the governor a blank power check. No. There are state police here and there in the world. How do they do it? Two-Face will tell you, come, make we go. Even at two-head, then get. If we get there, we go no. So if those people are running their state police nicely, what are their ground rules? Can we have them? Can we beat them to our municipal constraints and then float a state police, if you ask me, for the next 10 years as a hypothesis, and get governors to go and work as managers to generate resources to manage the state police? You don't run the state police and go to Abuja to give you money. In fact, if you ask me, there should be state police in states whose governors can foot their bills.
So what do you think about other matters, of course, coming from the book itself? Because General Babangida has said that he has no hands with the death of Delegiwa, according to what he stated coming from the book launch.
Well, every human being is entitled to their opinion. So I think the general is right.
He's right?
Yes, to the extent of his opinion.
Okay.
Yeah.
Even when all fingers, of course, points to him, and everything relates to the death of that great journalist, actually led to, connected in one way or another to Babangida.
And so, like I said at the beginning, this is a litmus test for our judicial and law enforcement systems. Where there are overwhelming evidence, who is acting on the evidence? Who? So, as we speak, the general is right to say he is innocent of the death of Delegiwa. Let those with evidence, let those authorized with enforcement do the needful. General IBB cannot arrest himself.
All right, so while we, of course, think about that and try to chew and digest it, let's equally look at other personalities that were there. And one of them is General Yakubu Gowon. Is one very key individual that Nigerians really would need to have his book also, because he needs to tell us stories about what happened between 1967 and 1970. One of those era in Nigeria that would not be forgotten, rather anytime soon. So don't you think it's time for some of those people, rather than go beyond, without Nigerians having to get to know what happened? We'd love to congratulate General Ibrahim Babangida for doing what he has done. At least he has given Nigerians the opportunity firsthand to know what happened, right? Don't you think it's equally good enough for Yakubu to equally, do the same?
I would say that would be welcome, but that's on the one hand. On the other, not everybody are gifted to be authors.
No, he wasn't.
So he can do a biography, he can do an autobiography, yes, if he is willing. Another thing is, a book is always with the bias of the writer or the author. So he can weave a story his way. I would rather sit here and say that there are books already. We are just waiting from your comment for the version of General Yakubu Gowon.
Yeah, because he is
we have books
that is very pivotal to what happened. So we need to hear from the horse's mouth.
In the Yakubu Gowon's epoch or era, we have books like Why We Struck. He's an active soldier at that time who is still alive, General Obasanjo, also has a book, I believe. I think of President Obasanjo.
Yeah.
So we can read and have some extract of events from that book. I think there is a masterclass around that the government should promote for every home by the legendary, universally respected Chinua Achebe, There Was a Country. So there are books around. And Achebe is neither a politician, nor a governor, nor a president. So I am inclined towards his book because he must be a neutral person. So, and if you are looking for facts, sometimes it's better told by a neutralist than parties involved. If I'm going to read, I think online is flooded. There's a big traffic in ordering of IBB's book, but who I eventually read it. Yes. IBB will tell a story from his experience, which may lack universal applicability if it is not scientific or empirical enough. So, but a neutral person, I have not stamped Chinua Achebe's book, but a neutralist who is not open to culpability, who you cannot accuse of any involvement in an incident, writing, can present both sides. So
yeah, of course, a neutral person can present both sides, but a neutral person wasn't there, wasn't seated at the table when very important decisions were made, like the meeting between Yakubu Gowon, Odumegu Ojukwu in Ghana.
The Aburi.
Yes, exactly.
Anyway,
Chinua Achebe was not there. Yakubu Gowon was there. He knew what happened. He knew what they discussed. So having that very important message is key.
Well, no matter the president writing, whether Nigeria or abroad, I think there are certain content that will not be divulged. I think we should respect that. That was a peace talk in Aburi, where General Dumegu was, I don't want to use that word, but felt betrayed. Yeah. So at the time, I think that was the time Nigeria's journey to destruction was at infancy. Because much as we were a freshly independent country, certain strings were being externally pulled. Imagine in Nigeria as vast as it is, 3 times the size of Ghana. There was no land peaceful enough. We have to travel out to go and have a meeting. Of course, maybe General Ojukwu may not feel safe. But imagine that. Imagine that. So there are, I'm saying, no matter who writes, if George W. Bush Sr. writes a book on the invasion of Iraq. We know that in the end, Iraq was never found. Saddam Hussein was never found. There are details he will skip. So, yes, the books are welcome, but the books are not the solution. The outcome of the book, in this case, we have General IBB's confession. It's over 24 hours. Accolades, plaudits have been pouring in. What are the law enforcement, the judicial system saying with some evidence already presented from that book? What are they saying? So General Yakubu Gowon could write a book. We will read, we will digest. What will the disclosure benefit?
But speak to us in the silence of the family of Abiola.
I think if I want to be emotional, I would say General IBB just opened fresh sores, fresh wounds in the homes of the Abiolas. Because something that you have been mournful about over the years, a Petra cut down, the Abiola family wealth plundered, family disintegrated, you know.
The connection between father and son was
lost and a few people are still trying to manage their grief to diminish. The book launch and all the camaraderie that accompanied it, it's a mockery, it's an open laughter. Have you seen somebody grieving and you laugh to their face? Like Peter Obi would say, that's a commendable move to launch a book and speak truths. You know, so we commend the great general. He is a 27th man, he's an August man. He ascended office August 27, 1987, I think, 1985, and left August 27, 1993. He's a concise man. Lots of names. I used to read my father's tale at the time. I don't know who those men, Dele or Motunde, some of them, and they call him the political Maradona. I always held him in high esteem. I was a boy in 1986 when Maradona played at the World Cup. I was not 10 years old yet. So, but by watching the Maradona clips and his soccer dexterity from that magical left foot, I was imagining the persona of General IBB to be tagged a Maradona, kind of. So, but in all of this lighter mode description, the impact on that family, I think even their silence at this stage can be defined as golden. If any journalist takes their camera there, you would document weepings,
it's
fresh tears.
What's documenting?
You know,
really.
And as it were the MKO man to have died in the church. Let me use the word the Catholic Church. He is already a martyr that would be on his way to be canonized a saint. Because what did he do wrong? He followed the laid down rules at the time, campaigned, they went to Jos, where he picked the ticket, high wire politicking. At the time, General Sheikh Musayar Adwa and youthful Atiku and all of that, they considered tickets to the man. He threw around lots of cash. There were helicopters dropping at the time around the Rampang Stadium in Jos. And the man did what politicians would do. At the time too, with his political, his deputy running mate, what's it called? That his vice? No, King Gibe.
King Gibe, sorry.
King Gibe also considered so that there will be that unity. Nobody at the time mentioned the Muslim ticket. The country embraced them. I was a boy in junior secondary school back at the time, and I was in Calabar. But at the time, their adverts, their campaigns, their jingle permeated all the nooks and crannies. My father would turn on the radio at the time, radio that plays cassette, and I don't know who sang that song. Sometimes I wonder if it is Sonny Neji, because it was such metallic tenor. Almost the type they used to sing for that bank when the bank turned 100 years. Let me keep their name on that. Exactly. You know, so it was, the Nigerians were hopeful. As a boy of how old, I could see that. I didn't know at the time the difference between military and civil. But I know that, I mean, soldiers will be given way so that elected civilians, I just know that people were happy. So what did the man do wrong? And then, while he was still alive, I think, his wife was murdered. I think Alhaja Kudira died before the man, as it were.
Yeah,
so the man, half of him was dead at the time. So with this book launch, maybe it's an opportunity. President Tinubu is on the threshold of getting things right and aligning himself with history for the sake of good.
Definitely, if our electoral, umpire are there to really make that happen, because the truth remains that so many elections are being technically annulled. When we tell ourselves that beavers can't walk and IREVs can't
no,
walk.
the beaver was sensitive. The beaver was sensitive. The beaver recognized House of Reps people, recognized senators, recognized governors. Not president.
Not president.
It was a selective beaver.
Yeah,
I think it should also go into the Guinness Book of Records.
So we can technically say that election was equally annulled because
technically,
technically, because there were no reasons.
I bet President Tinubu has gone for litigation and has been cleared.
Yeah, litigation is one other thing. Remember, you talked about our judiciary, taking up the case against the confession, but of course we all know how it goes in Nigeria. Is the sad situation we found ourselves. But we pray, of course, for unity, for peace in our country. No matter whose ox is God, the most important thing is for us to love one another. The important thing is for us to be steadfast. Is for those in authority to understand that leadership is about followership. Leadership is not about you and your family. Leaders put themselves forward. Leaders eat last and allow the those that have been led, to eat first. But how do we do ours in Nigeria? It's a different ball game. Of course, we say congratulations to General Ibrahim Babangida for coming out with this book. And we hope Nigerians would read, digest, and make sense of it. But most importantly, learn from history so as to repeat that in the future. My name is Henry Igwebike. Thank you so very much, Innocent Aduluba.
My pleasure to be here.
Our show today. So we're just about to leave today. Remember, you can always see us at enterprisetvnews.com. You may equally like, comment, and follow us on all our social media platforms at Enterprise TV7. Thank you for watching. I'll see you. Bye-bye.